thinking about upright bass and electric bass. When we were teenagers and playing, you played upright.
Yeah.
And then swung over to electric.
I was tired of bleeding, trying to fight the drums and guitar. Yeah.
And Russ, you've played with bass players who have played both a lot.
Absolutely.
And within the immediate family, some songs are on upright. Or are they?
Not within at this point, but
Okay.
I anticipate down the line, like maybe on the next album project, that I'll pull my upright out and contribute.
What do you feel the differences are musically when in a context? Always young drummers think of upright as in a jazz group, which is more often seen that way, of course, as opposed to more popular or rock music. But let me ask you first, Lee.
Well, I mean, it's another element of bass. It's to me it depends. Number one, what your facility is on it, because there are guys that can play upright that sound like they're playing a Fender. I mean, in terms of the parts and things like that. But it's a sonic. I think that the thing that I miss the most about not playing upright is I miss bowing. I miss arco. As a pits player, going between the instruments, there's some sonics, but I do miss bowing, and that's where I would really like to bring it back and have that mood at my fingertips within the group. So we'll see, but for me, I started as an upright player, but when my career started to take off around 1970, nobody ever called for upright. Nobody was looking for doublers at that point, and all my work was basically Fender. So my chops on it kind of disappeared. It's not like riding a bicycle where you just get on it and you ride off. I mean, you really need to stay on top of the instrument. So when I would get calls for upright, I had other friends that were really fabulous upright players that really weren't doing that much electric. So I would rather just pass the gig on to them. But I've got a sweet upright at home, and I sit home and play it, but I really haven't found myself in a situation. I have some acoustic fretless basses that can kind of fill the bill on a certain level, so I'll take those if they want it. But I'd like to get back into it again because I do miss it, and it's a beautiful instrument.
Do you feel a different time feel or pulse if you're playing in a smaller section with an upright as opposed to electric?
I think there can be, and the sonics of an upright bass to me are so much bigger. It creates a wider groove, I guess, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. The first time I ever played with an upright bass player was Bobby West on James Taylor's Sweet Baby James album on Fire and Rain, which he was bowing, And that's the interesting part about that record. It doesn't really have a proper bass part because it's just this kind of arco bass going through the whole song. But for the last 13, 14 years, I've been playing live with Lyle Lovett as well, and playing with an amazing bass player, Victor Krauss, who predominantly plays upright bass, and it's a different feel. He's very good, and he has a great pocket. But I think it creates a little bit more of a more space for the groove to happen in. And the only thing that's better than that is playing with Lee.
Well, it's a big pillow.
It is.
That's for sure. I mean, the air that an upright moves. And plus, if you're sitting in a situation like if we were just going to sit down right now and I didn't have an amp, you wouldn't be hearing me. But with an upright, it's there.
It's interesting that you would say that, though. I think one of the things that playing with an upright bass player makes you do as a drummer is you play softer. Like if Leland picked up an upright bass and started playing unamplified, of course I'd be playing brushes. There's no the conversation's over because that's the only way I could hear him, as if I was playing brushes. So I think it brings a dynamic to any song or any time it's used. That's a good one. It's one of as dynamics are important.
One last thing. I think one of the more pronounced things with an upright is being the kind of instrument it is. You can have a beautiful sounding upright and you can have a really bad sounding upright. It doesn't matter with the player. because when I'm driving around, I listen a great deal to the Sinatra station on Sirius XM. And I listen to these recordings, and some of the uprights just sound terrible on these recordings. You know, they were beautiful parts, the guys were playing good, but sonically the instrument wasn't good. And others you hear, and they just wrap you up and they envelop you. So I think if you're really looking at upright, it becomes far more critical in terms of really finding an instrument that sings, that has a voice that is the entire length of it. Because I heard one the other day, and the bottom of this thing was so rich in the recording, and then they did a little solo thing. And the top was irritating to me to listen to. It was abrasive sounding. So I think where with an electric, you know, I mean, you can pretty much, you know, you can find a tone in that'll work. But when you're dealing with string instruments like violins, violas, cellos, string bass, the instrument itself becomes a very critical part of far more critical than when you're dealing with just electric instruments.
What would you say your biggest job is, you know, aside from being a great drummer and filling the role of a drummer, but supplying what you need to for the front guys in the band?
Yeah, absolutely. Leland, you said this earlier. Don't lose the dance floor.
Yep.
When I heard that, it was like, boom, of course. Man, if you start doing things and all of a sudden you've lost the audience, your job, you've just failed.
Yeah.
At your job. And it doesn't matter what kind of music it is. It could be just the most simple little ballad or something like that. But when you look out at that audience and you see them engaged, it's really you that's engaging them, and everything else comes along with it. But for me, if I go to a gig and the drummer's just not there, I'm very unsatisfied. There's something, I'm almost nervous. I'm going to get shingles or something from it.
I hear there's a book in the works.
Well, the pandemic's been a very strange experience. We were kind of lucky because, like, I haven't not been on the road 1 year out of the past 50 years. And in February, we ended up doing a cruise that was called the Rock Legends Cruise. That was from Fort Lauderdale to Grand Cayman and back. With Roger Daltrey was on the boat, and Nancy Wilson and Mark Farner, all these different groups, and the immediate family was on it. And so at least I got one little kind of mini tour of this thing. But right after that, everything shut down, and I was looking at my book, my date book, and I had a year's worth of work completely vanish. And I was sitting at home just going, I mean, we had our album in the works, we had the documentary film that's being done about us in the works. That's one element of things, but everything else that would fill my time was gone, and I just sat there going, what the hell am I going to do? I mean, this is to feel viable and to feel engaged still. So I started a YouTube channel by accident, and it's evolved into a really funny thing for me.
On fire, yeah.
Yeah, it's going unbelievable. But I've been bugged by people for years now that knew that this was going on, that I should do a book. And it's not going to be for everybody, because some people may find offense in it. But it's when I was out with Phil Collins in 2004 doing the first final farewell tour, there was talk that Phil was going to retire at the end of the tour. He was pretty much physically tired and kind of disenchanted with things that were going on. And I thought, you know, there's about 120 people out here on the road with us on the crew. It's a big tour. And I thought, I may never see a lot of these people again, because they were from Europe, they were from all over America. And so I thought, well, I'm going to take pictures of everybody and make a little folder for the end of the tour. And I had a bass tech on the tour, which I've never had a bass tech before. So this guy, he and I were always like just bumping heads in a funny way, because he was always looking for something to do and I had nothing for him to do. So luck would have it, he's the first guy I walked up to take a picture at the end of the tour, and he was working on his laptop, and I said, hey, Chinner, give me a smile. And he's like this, and he just gives me the finger. And I went, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So I went and I got everybody in the band. I got Phil, I got management, truck drivers, caterers, and I filled a whole book up with like 120 pictures of people flipping me off and tucked it away. And then a couple of years later, when I did Toto for the first time, I did the same thing with them. and it got up to about 300 pictures, and it started to take on a whole personality of its own. And I just continued with it, and I got close to 12,000 photographs now. And so,
That's amazing.
And it's everybody from like Bernie Williams from the New York Yankees to Jack Nicholson to winos I find on the street, to all the artists I've worked with and stuff. And so I kind of thought, I was at dinner. I have a very dear friend named Kenton Nelson, who's a fantastic painter. And he lives in Pasadena, where I live. And he would have these get-togethers in his yard with a group of people. And I was over there one night, and he introduced me to this guy named Blue, who has he does all kinds of work in the art field and publishing and all kinds of stuff. And I told him about this, and he said, let's do it. And he corralled me, and we went through all the pictures and honed it down to about 6,000 shots. And I'm going to have a beautiful coffee table book. It's a high-quality book about this big, and it's really beautifully done. It goes through thematic things. It's not just picture after picture. There's like, it's broken down into a bunch of characters. But there's a finite amount of ways to give the finger. Like when I got Jack Black, he looks at me and goes, "You want balls? No balls. What do you know?" And James Taylor and Keltner, they do this rather than this. And there's like a half a dozen ways. The faces are infinite. And for me, when I'm looking at it, it's humanity on display. Because some people get into it and they are in your face. Other people are, like this. So it runs this entire gamut, and I'm tickled to death. So I'm in the process right now of building a website where I'm going to be selling it through, and the website's called lelandsklar'sbeard.com because somebody bought lelandsklar.com and leesklar.com and wanted a lot of money to sell them back. Yeah. So we kind of went, well, make it lelandsklar'sbeard.com.
Add the word beard in there.
Yeah, got to add the word and an S at the end of my name.
Lee, what's the title of the book going to be?
The book is called Everybody Loves Me.
I love it.
and the cover of it is just me kind of looking over, but when you flip the book over, my hand's on the backside because we took the picture with me doing this, so my hand's on the backside. But we are in a time that people really need some pleasure and some escape.
The comedy.
And joy. And when I'm working with Blue on this, we're working all the time on this, building the website and all kinds of things with this. We just sit there laughing at this. I mean, some of the shots are just so hysterical, and people are just so funny and engaged that I'm excited about it. If it makes money, great. But right now, the most important thing to me is to feel like I'm contributing and doing something positive every day. And between the band, with the stuff we're doing with making our videos and doing the gig here, which I can't tell you how much we appreciate your hospitality on this project. I can do just so much yard work, and my dogs look at me sometimes and go, "Are we going to walk again? Come on, my feet are killing me." So I lock myself up and do my videos every day, and that's been an adventure, just going through my discography and finding songs and remembering stories that pertain to them. And I've developed a community that's really wonderful. I was happy. I do a live stream twice a month on it. And I got there 10 minutes early for my one last Wednesday. And I looked at the chat window, and it was already completely packed with people all talking to each other.
Nice.
So I'm like kind of incidental to it at this point. They've formed their own little sub-community off of this. And I'm so thrilled by it that when I don't know something about something, immediately people are writing back and telling me, "Oh, this is who was on that record with you."
You got your own Wikipedia going.
Yeah, they've got it all going, and this two-way street is what I'm excited about on it. So I'm thrilled, and you're in the book.
I'm in the book.
You're in the book.
You're in the book.
Russell's in the book.
Hey.
It's fantastic. I've got everything from a nun to police.
I won't even ask how you figured that one out or got it.
Oh, it was easy. It was
Only
easy.
he could do that, right?
No, she was fabulous. And she said, "Look, I was a high school teacher, so I'm not surprised by this." And her sister, who was also a sister, was so depressed that she couldn't give me the finger, but she had her arthritis was too bad. She was sitting there just trying to make a finger. So, and they're in their 90s.
That's beautiful.
So it's fantastic.
You guys are a wealth of information and a world of wisdom. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out, and hoping we can do this again.
Absolute pleasure.
Anytime, anytime.
The immediate family is an immediate drum lesson. That's what you guys got to remember out there. So get the CD, which is going to be available now, actually.
Yeah, the EP,
EP?
is out.
5-song EP.
You'll find the link so you can get it. Your book will be out. We'll put the link there so they can
Great.
get that also at the
Great.
same time. How can they hear more about you, Russ, on Facebook, or what's a way to?
Oh yeah, most of the stuff that I'm doing right now is in this band. So
Okay.
and very, very happy to be playing DW drums.
And we can't be happier than having you do that and having you be guests here at, think of this as your home away from home. This is kind of your beach house.
No, this is so, I mean, we've kind of talked for years about coming out here, and when we came out to do our photo shoot, for me was the first time, and I was so thrilled to see this facility. I'm so proud of you for what you've created, and it's really quite spectacular.
Yeah,
this has
it really
really
is.
been a joyous experience for me.
Next time we get together, you'll hear some of the behind-the-scenes stories of Lee and Don. And Jim, too. 'cause
Absolutely.
Some going back to the old days.
Wow.
Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you
I'm
so
going to
much.
do the whole thing here.
Absolutely.
Love you guys,
Love you too, my
and
friend.
we're going to see you again soon, and we're going to see you again soon.
Take care.